Hi everyone, and welcome to Hatecast. Today joining us we have JB. Hello, JB.
Hey, she's here. She's here. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good. Unlike us, JB has been locked down in the Playboy Mansion with Hugh Hefner, who's wearing one of his dressing gowns today.
Oh yeah, I'll put my tits away. Sorry. There we go.
Don't you dare.
I would be lying. I actually ordered this. I ordered this for this interview.
Beautiful.
I thought it would be appropriate.
I'm just jealous. That's all it is. Like, it's really hot. The weather's really taken a turn, hasn't it? It's like we're really feeling like summer now. So
yeah, it's really quite bad here. We're like the way our house is situated. We're kind of just bombarded with heat constantly, and it's very stuffy. So yeah, even the cats are hiding, which I think is a bad sign.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, unless they have a shave, I guess they can't really cope that well with the heat. They don't tend to like water very much either, do they?
No, and they are shedding though. So thanks for that.
And on that note, let's get on. So, JB, you know the formula. We ask a series of questions.
Yeah, sure.
50 questions we ask everyone, and a special question which Rick has given me to ask you this week. And at the end, also, you're going to have a question that you're going to ask for the next person. So,
yes, that I have absolutely prepared.
Every single person spoken to has, in advance, prepared, thought deeply, searched their soul, and come up with a question before the interview begins. Every single one of them.
Yeah, professional that I am, of course. I have watched all of these.
For a minute. I don't doubt it for a minute.
I watched all of these and made the mental note of, I'm going to have a question ready for Andy.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
And I do. I don't know why you think I wouldn't.
Both you and I can't wait to hear what that question's going to be.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be dope.
Yeah.
So before we go any further,
JB,
if someone was down the club and they bumped into you, who the heck are you? What are you up to? What do you do down there? Where would they find you apart from propping up the bar?
Yeah, propping up the bar is pretty common. I am these days more often than not playing Infinity.
Yep.
That has more or less taken over my life. Or I am likely to occasionally be playing 40K. Occasionally playing board games or whatever. Or just standing around having a chat. That is typically what you'll find me doing down at the club.
Classic chatting at Hate.
Yeah.
Because you are quite well. I know. I think of you as an Infinity player, or as people like Andy and Aiden playing Infinity down the club. You're one of the mainstays. I think you do quite well at tournaments. So is that?
Yeah. I think I've now gotten to the point where I can no longer fall back on my usual excuse of, I'm not very good at this game. I think I've now reached the point where I can't do that anymore, which is terrifying. It means that now all of a sudden, like, there are expectations that I do well, and I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's me humble bragging that I guess I do well.
If no one expects anything from you, and you come middle, it's a victory. If everyone expects you to win, there's a lot harder, I guess.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a new edition coming out, so you can blame that now.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's we'll see what happens with that.
Excellent. So we'll get on with our questions. Our series of questions. Number one, nice easy one. What's on your workbench, JB? What are you working on?
So at the moment, as I'm sure has been mentioned in previous episodes, I mean, I know it's been mentioned, there has been a new Infinity starter that's come out.
Yeah.
And I have just received my half of that starter. I split it with one of my friends from down at the club. And that is currently sitting waiting to be assembled and then painted. So
now in the new starter?
What factions?
Yeah, factions, forces.
Yeah. You have kind of the two classic factions of Infinity. So you have Pan-Oceania, who are kind of the blue army of the game. Very shooty, multi-culty, neoliberal kind of faction. And then you have Yu Qing, who are a Pan-Asian state capitalist kind of faction, mainly focused around kind of heavy infantry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I previously run, I mean, I run both armies, but for the new edition, I decided to run Yu Ching competitively.
Yeah.
So I picked up that half of the army box, and it's some really stunning miniatures in there, and I'm quite looking forward to working on.
Infinity, there's Corvus Belli company.
Yeah.
They've got some really, really nice models. No one goes, oh yeah, Infinity, they're horrible models. They're very nice.
Yeah.
Challenging.
Yeah. No,
times.
yeah, like it's definitely not the big chunky kind of Games Workshop style models where like there's maybe a couple pits to put together and it all kind of fits pretty well. Infinity is notorious for having models that are less on the heroic scale, I guess would be the generous way of putting it.
Bit
fiddly. Be a bit fiddly.
I say I enjoyed some of the models I put together, and others I'm like,
yeah.
Some I had to develop acceptance. Well, it was like a meditative kind of Buddhist kind of assembly process where you go like, I just have to accept this model is what it is.
Yeah. On some of the earlier sculpts, I think that's pretty notorious that like when you have a model holding a gun, it'll never quite line up properly. So either the shoulder's going to be off or the wrist is going to be off. I have a lot of green stuffed models from the original cast, but the newer ones tend to be better.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I got some of the old ones. They're very good. So,
yeah.
Will this be like the force you take from now on for like a year, or how? Or will it just be, is it because you don't need many models? I mean, I will. So, for example, a different game entirely, Kings of War. Build a Abyssal War army, and that'll be the one I build, and I'll play with it for 6 months to a year to get good at it. Will this be one you pick up and you use with your other stuff, or is it going to be like, I'm going to dedicate myself to playing this force and I'm going to really hone my skills for the next year, or something in between that I haven't thought of?
Yeah, I tend to fall on using 1 or 2 forces per season. So Infinity's divided into seasons, year-long seasons that are used competitively, that have their own mission packs, special rules that apply only to that season. And it's kind of the easy way to organize it all competitively. So I typically tend to use one faction as my main faction for a season, and then have a second one to kind of swap in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So since I've never that faction Yu Ching that I'm going to be running, since it's going to be a completely new rule system, I wanted to give them like a fresh start and try to learn how to play them properly. Whereas the faction that I'm kind of most known for playing, the Nomads, they're going to be getting a complete overhaul as well, but I kind of already know how they play. So I'm probably going to have them kind of in the back. So depending on how well I do with Yu Ching, if I hit a massive rut and I just suck horribly for a couple months, I can just go back to Nomads and go, well, I know how this works. So
safety, back to your security blanket of Nomads, and you'll be okay. And then
I think that's something that's fair to have. Like it's okay to have a crutch once in a while.
Cool. So this force you're working on currently,
yes.
How are you going to? Is any particular way you're going to be painting them up? Any sort of influences or styles, or are you just going to be like, I want them to be red? I don't know.
I mean, that is basically my approach to painting normally. My Yu Ching force, I think the reason I started them was that I wanted to paint yellow. Because at that point, I never painted yellow for any reason, never had a reason to. And I figured Yu Ching's color scheme tends to hover around yellow, orange-ish. So I figured, like, well, that'll work. And found that I quite enjoyed it. It's very different. It's much more difficult to paint than the typically darker color schemes I did. And I decided to go for, again, past me, had great judgment, a color scheme that was yellow, black, white, the easiest colors to paint, famously. Yeah, and so that's now just kind of become the color scheme I have for that army, and I could either go back, strip everything, and repaint it, or just keep going with that. So
At the end of painting those armies, you know what colours you're going to be better at painting?
green,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah, no, I mean, I get sort of imposter syndrome with painting yellow because apparently people think I do it well and ask me what the trick is, and there really is no trick.
Yeah.
It's just many thin layers.
Yes. Yeah. Yellow is a tricky one for sure.
Allegedly, I don't know.
Allegedly,
I
comment below if you think yellow is a tricky colour.
yeah.
That sounds cool. I look forward to seeing them. That'll be good. JB, what are you reading at the moment? It's on your nightstand. Are you reading any books?
I've been reading a bit, so I'm looking over my bookcase. The last like fiction book I finished was I reread Thomas Ligotti's book, My Work Is Not Yet Done, which is a corporate horror story. Ligotti, for anyone who's not familiar with him, is basically uh, what we all kind of wanted Lovecraft to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically that. So he's kind of a horror fan's horror author, in that he writes kind of around horror cliches and plays around with them,
Yeah.
and likes to work with the concept of horror. And so that's kind of a supernatural revenge story set in the corporate world.
Mm.
And yeah, it's quite bleak, but it's very good. Uh, other than that, I have been reading. I brought prompts. Other than that, I've been reading this, which reflects horribly.
Says Clan.
Changeling the Lost.
Changeling, White Wolf, lovely.
Yeah, it is the New World of Darkness version of Changeling. I have been wanting to run this for ages, and it kind of is working up the courage to do it, and just reading through to get a better idea for like what I want to do. So yeah, that's kind of the non-fiction, I guess, that I'm reading, is doing homework.
We have to do homework sometimes.
Yeah, indeed.
Actually, I've got some props here myself. I just remembered. If you'd like to do a quick game with me.
Sure.
Hi, Tim. Tim's listening. Tim sent me a care package. I should hide my address. He was clearing his miniatures out.
Okay.
And he said, who'd like some miniatures? And I was like, you could send me a bunch of random models, because to be honest, I'm running out because I'm painting lockdown. So I got this box, and I kind of have a vague idea what's in there, but I've opened it as much as to check it was what I thought it was and not something for my son's birthday. But I've not actually looked at the miniatures. If you'd like, we can have a look at them now.
Are you saying that we're pivoting into an unboxing video?
I'd say we're right in the middle of one right now.
Okay. Well, everyone at home, you know what the deal is. Like and subscribe. Down below. And don't forget to leave a comment. Pause the video right now and write a comment what you think is in Andy's box. And then we'll come back and find out together.
I'm do this next interview. I think I should say I stuff.
This is how you bring them back.
There, and then whoever I'm interviewing next time, we should maybe go for it then. What do you think, JB?
Well, tell you what I think, right? If you leave a comment down below, if you want to find out in the next part of this interview, or in the next interview in total, we want to hear the comments, and we also want your likes. We want to ring the bell as well, and we want to hit 200 likes for this. We want to hit 200 likes for this.
And then if we get 200 likes, which is never going to happen because we don't get 200.
Not with that attitude, Andrew. Come on, guys. I know you can do it. You have it in you.
If we have an unfeasible amount of likes, we'll open the box. How about that?
Open the box on a stream. It'll be great.
Yeah. Anyway.
But until then, hi, Tim. Sorry we didn't open your box.
I want to rummage in Tim's box and see what he's got for me, personally.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if the audience comes through.
And absolutely. And on that bombshell goes into the last and perhaps the most difficult, most tricky question of the first section. What does gaming mean to you? JB, what does gaming mean to you?
Well, for me in my life, and such as, gaming is and has always been kind of an excuse for social interaction. Like it has been social lubricant, if you will. Like being fairly socially awkward and not being great at kind of casual chit-chatting with people that I don't know. Gaming has always been an excuse to kind of sit down and talk to people and engage with them.
I have no interest in football. So I've always found it difficult to start a conversation with normal people because they want to talk to me about Liverpool, hey? And I'm like, it's where the Beatles are from.
Yeah.
You know. So I'd have to agree with you, having that framework of when you go to a club, people want to talk about games. Like, I know about games, I can talk about games, and it gives you a place to start, doesn't it, for social interaction? Even if you're playing a game, you know the rules of the game, and so that, you follow the rules and you have an interaction, hopefully a positive one.
Yeah, but like even then, it's like the rules are just there as a framework. Ultimately, the reason you're playing games, or at least the reason I'm playing games, I don't want to speak for everyone, is to have an excuse to like meet people and engage with them.
Yeah.
And like it's a fun thing to do. Like a fun game is a fun game, but there's a reason why I gravitate more towards social gaming experiences than, say, competitive gaming online or something like that. Which, yeah, like I have a rule in general when it comes to gaming that I won't play with someone if I can't reach across the table and slap them across the face for being a dick. And
nice.
And that's kind of the social contract I'm looking for when it comes to gaming. So yeah, like gaming is like the pure gaming aspect is it's there for a social experience, is to have a positive social experience.
And a real friend will look you in the eye and say you're a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that because so many of my friends have said it to me.
Yeah. No, but like I've said it when I've gone to Infinity competitions, whatever, and talked to people there. That ultimately, for me, what I want is that at the end of a game, both my opponent and I should be able to go, well, I don't hate the last 2 hours of my life.
That's all anyone asks. Any point.
That was fine. It's the lowest possible bar, but like as long as like all I want is for it to not have been a negative experience for either one of us, and then I guess we're fine.
Yeah, if you could finish a game and look at the other person and be like, I would play that game with you again.
Yeah.
Hopefully different dice rolls and results and so on. If we could play Infinity again together, and I feel the way I feel now, then I would be happy to do it. That's really what you hope for, isn't it? It's just, or maybe even be excited at the prospect. That'd be good as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
I would do that again.
There are definitely like some people that like win, lose, or draw. It's always fun to play them.
Yeah,
because you both enter into the game with like the same mindset.
Yeah,
like you're both are playing to win. Like ultimately, that's why you're playing the game. That's a social contract. You're playing to win, but at no point is the enjoyment of the game compromised in the pursuit of that goal. And that's something that is, I find really, really rare to find someone to gel that well with someone. But that's like, those are the best games when you both know what you're hoping to get out of the game, and you're both willing to compromise to get to that point.
I think I've said it here before. I've said it for people, but for me, the perfect game is he's had the twos of it. It's been, real swingy. There's been good luck, bad luck, and it comes down to the last dice roll, of the
Yeah.
game. It's like, well, I got to run to see if I can get on the objective. Do I make it? And that
Yeah.
I know. And at that point in time, you don't care what the result of that dice roll is because you had like 2 hours of great fun up to that dice roll. So it doesn't really matter. You want to win, but if you don't, it's still, I would rather have that than, yeah, I've killed that unit, take it off. And I've killed that unit, and I guess I win.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for letting me take my models off the table. This was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, and you look at them like, really
tidying.
sorry.
This has been a 3-hour-long tidying simulator. Awesome. No, I mean, I've definitely had like games. My favorite games have always been the ones where before you roll that last dice roll, you both shake hands and go, regardless of how this ends up, this was great. Yep. Or even, which is something that happens a lot in Infinity, where missions, like, it isn't obvious who's won necessarily until the end. Like, you might think you know, but you don't know for sure. And where you go into the end of the game just going, well, this was a really good game. I have no idea who won, and I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the best ones. Those are the best ones. So that's kind of, I guess that's the dragon I'm chasing when, like, from a pure competitive gameplay perspective, is those kind of games.
I've been in a situation at a tournament. I was playing a guy, and we got to the end of one. Like, we're playing bolt action. We pulled all the dice out, and we got to the next point. We're going to put all our dice back in, and we looked to the board, and we worked out it's all happening in this corner here. And if I got my dice first, I could assault him, or shoot my SMGs into him, wipe that squad out. He was not going to get off my board edge to score enough points for him to win. But if I went first, I'd destroy his unit, score a victory point, and I'd win. And it'd be the other way around if he got his dice out first.
Yeah.
And so we both looked at each other and went, should we just call it a draw then? Because we both expected whoever got the dice out of the bag next was going to win. And then it really wasn't a test of who was the best general. It was like, who was the best at randomly getting their dice drawn out. And we thought let's just have a friendly draw. We'll both we have a friendly draw. So that's what we agreed on, which was nice. It's not what you normally expect at a tournament. It's something like, let's just call it a draw.
Yeah, no, but I mean, sometimes that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Right. So we're going to take a break here while Gary does some magic. We'll come back to you after the break. And we're back. Hi, everyone. I hope you had a short break. JB was just telling me his deepest, darkest, innermost secrets during that short break. So that was amazing. So what to our next section?
Go on.
JB, what artists inspire you?
So here is where I'm probably going to be like I'm going to deviate slightly from what I guess has been the interview so far, because I'm not primarily that interested in visual art. I've never been very good at it.
Was at the beginning when you said that you like to paint your models, but that's not the be and all and end all to you. You get projects and you complete them. And you want to look as nice as you possibly can, but you're not losing sleep. You're not Aiden. Hi, Aiden.
Hi, Aiden. When I first started painting minis again, because I started like building and painting minis as a kid, and then didn't really have any money to really pursue it. But once I got back into gaming again, I was really insecure about my painting, and I hated painting. Yeah. It was the worst thing. I loved building models. I loved converting, kit bashing, scratch building, all that. Hated painting it.
Yeah.
And I feel it was because whenever I would ask for advice or show people kind of what I was doing, I would get a lot of very technical terms that I'm sure make sense to someone who has studied art or knows about art. But to me, who is like, I'm a complete layman, I have no idea about any of that. It would just come off as very intimidating. I'd go like, I guess it's just shit then. Okay, fine. And so I wouldn't really try to progress. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I changed my mindset that ultimately my goal wasn't to be the best painter in the world, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And my goal is not to win any painting competitions, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the best to do something.
Oh, absolutely.
And instead, just aiming for what is good enough for me,
Yeah.
and then focusing on just getting shit done.
Yeah.
Because I did also notice that a lot of those people who were giving me advice, like very technical advice on how to paint, they would also never finish anything. So I would instead focus on, let's just get it good enough, and then that'll do. And then if I look back on it and it's not great, then
Yeah.
whatever. Past me did that. I'm
Yeah.
better now. So whatever. So art that inspires me tends to be, I tend to draw more inspiration from stories to give me like thematic ideas for
Yeah.
what I want to do than necessarily visual things. Like I tend to not look at reference pictures or anything when I'm painting. I just paint what looks nice to me.
Yeah. And why not?
Yeah. And so for me, it's much more like music that inspires me and like stories that inspire me necessarily
Cool.
than painting, I guess. Like I like things that are striking
Yeah.
when it comes to painting. Like I know there's a lot to be said for making things look naturalistic and making it look kind of weathered and realistic and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not really for that. I'm
Yeah.
more interested in stuff that pops. I want it to
Yeah.
pop. I want it to stand out. I want it to look striking and interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no offense to people who love painting in just shades of brown. That's great for you. I love that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I prefer things to be very loud.
I have never once brought an army to the table, and I'm not the best. I paint stuff, and it's all good. It's not fabulous. And I've never once got to the table. They once brought my army to, and had my opponent go, "I'm not playing the army. It's nowhere near better. Paint well enough. Get rid of it. I'm not playing." I have never even heard of that happening to anyone.
No.
So, if there was one thing I think I've developed over the years, I could help, and if I could give it to anyone else, I feel like I've got quite fearless in my projects. I start them, and if they go wrong, I'm like, well, I learned on that model, and it's painted, so I can use it. That's fine. Is it the best? No. Well, next time I'll get it right. Rather than picking up a model and going, oh, this is such a nice model. I want to make sure I do it well. So what I will do is I will never ever start it, and I'll put it in the cupboard for 10 years.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
And I've heard that argument before, and it kind of like I think it's sad hearing people say that like, oh, this model's it's so nice, and I'm not going to be able to do it justice. And I'm like, well, do you reckon that it being completely unpainted is doing it justice? Then, like, give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Like, honestly, what is the worst that can happen?
To quote the patron saint of Canada, Wayne Gretzky, you miss all of the shots you never take.
Yeah, exactly.
So you muck up all the models you never paint. If you don't paint it, you've automatically not done a good paint job on it. So just kids paint those models.
Yeah, doesn't matter if you reckon you're not an expert at painting. Not everyone needs to be an expert at painting.
No, you just have to get. And you talk about models popping. It just reminded me of a story. I was playing Dan. Hi, Dan. His Soviets and my Americans were playing. And we set the field up, and we set up our armies. And then Gary walked over and was like, "When are you going to put your armies out?" And then we looked down, and of course, they're in green ammo.
Yeah.
That's why the armies are these colours. It's because actually you couldn't see that we had two huge armies deployed on the battlefield because they were hidden, because they were camouflaged.
Yeah.
Which is great in real life, but actually in the game, sometimes you actually want to be able to see where your models are on the tabletop.
Yeah, like I have one of my Infinity armies is jungle themed because the faction itself is jungle themed, and I figured, well, this give me a good excuse to paint camo because I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I started painting camo, I went, well, this is very dark. Like, it's nice. This is nice camo. But again, it doesn't look nice. Like, you could pick it up and go, wow, this is very well painted camo. But no one's going to pick that model up because they can't bloody see it.
Yes.
So the solution to that was to paint blue metal and purple neon lights all over them.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? No. Does it stand out? Yeah.
Yes.
So again, it's kind of a compromise there.
Well, I did my my nomads for Infinity. As you know, I painted them. I went for Italian desert color scheme. I painted them. There's nice yellow and browns and greens on there, and I looked and I went like, it's not popping. Yeah. And it's about popping. It's about shadow ops. You need some sci-fi. So I put some nice blue on their helmets, a sci-fi blue, and it still wasn't enough. So I was like, bright pink. Bright pink on them.
But
makes no sense.
No, but I mean, I have my nomads, which are the ones that I've gotten like the most attention for, are like a hodgepodge of like pink and purple and yellow and teal, and it's an absolute mess, but kind of works.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. It kind of works.
Yeah,
and again, I'm sure that people out there who are actually good at painting will just go, oh, "How dare you?" But it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay with it. It's fine. I'm okay with it. That's really all that matters.
There's definitely a place for both of them. Like I would not want to, and I'm joking about my Americans being hidden. You can't see them, but I wouldn't want to paint them in anything except the uniform colours they should be in.
No, like I said before, like
historical game. But if is not an historical game.
No, but ultimately, like it doesn't matter. Like, do what you want to do? It's your models. Paint them however you want. It's fine. Like just because I like one style doesn't invalidate people who want to paint something else. Like it's fine.
It's a personal choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Art is in the eye of the beholder. There's some beauty, as I say.
Yeah, they say that.
I didn't actually get from you which artists inspire you, because we were not on a long tangent about painting.
Yeah. Okay, so artists that inspire me.
Well, you said more theme, and then we went off on a long talk about painting, which
is
very enjoyable.
Yeah, so like if you look at actual like artists, I guess. I'll just pick the boring answers. I know, like Magritte. I really like a lot of surrealist painters, a lot of expressionists. I quite like. Yeah.
So Aidan, I remember talked about how he liked Rembrandt and how that is working with light inspired his painting. Do you feel that any inspiration from the Impressionists inspires your painting style? The answer can be no, Andy.
No. Again, like I don't really look at art and draw much inspiration from it as such. Like I am a boring, uncultured dum-dum in that sense. I will look at paintings and go, well, that's nice. But I don't really know enough about it. Like I said, I get more of that out of music than I do.
Cool.
Although, I mean, I can share this tidbit. The project I worked on previously, which was another Infinity faction, the primary inspiration for that came from the last Pokemon game.
There we go.
So there you go. My inspiration, the Pokemon Corporation.
Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. My favorite Pokemon, for those who care, Psyduck.
That's not so bad, Cole. Mine is Flygon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Next question, JB.
Go on.
JB, what's your favorite genre of films? I'm laughing because I know the answer.
Yeah, so I mean that's a complicated one because I think that how to phrase this in a good way. So I kind of find that anyone who defines themselves by genre is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like life is so much more than petty categories. So
The interview, guys. So thanks for joining.
so now that I'm done insulting all the genre fiction fans, um, no, the genre of fiction that I find myself drawn to the most, I guess, would be horror.
Yeah.
I do quite like horror. Some geeks are really into
Horror is,
fantasies.
but with like, it's just
It's one of the, like, some geeks are into fantasy, some geeks are into sci-fi. I've never really been into either of those. I've primarily just been interested in horror.
Yeah.
So yeah, horror films and horror fiction in general is probably where I spent like a lot of time kind of studying and obsessing and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, like different genres for different times, I guess.
Yeah. Like I will, and I think I keep talking about Aiden. Hi, Aiden. It's obsessed with him, obviously, and his
Hi,
hair.
Aiden.
He was about how he'll happily watch rom-coms, like romantic comedies. I'll enjoy a romantic comedy, and then and watch something bleak and awful as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that the scope of human emotion is limited to one genre of movie, but we all have our favorite kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Any recommendations
For horror films or films in general?
whichever you'd like, JB.
Well,
Films in
I can do both. So we'll do horror films. So since we're all stuck indoors, no one's going to the cinema anytime soon.
Yeah.
At least at time of recording.
Yeah.
So for horror, I can recommend stuff you can easily find on Netflix, for example.
Yeah.
There is a French show called Marianne that is on Netflix. That is some of the best horror that has been made in the past, I'd say, 10 years. You also have a horror film on Netflix called Cam, which is the rare horror film that is pro-sex work. What else is there? There is a Indonesian horror film called May the Devil Take You, which is kind of like, if you imagine a cross between The Conjuring and Evil Dead, you're getting pretty close to where it is. It's quite gruesome, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then outside of Netflix, if you are on Prime, there is currently on Prime an English low-budget horror film called The Borderlands.
Yeah.
It's a found footage film that is a horror film that deals with the idea of God existing as a horror theme, which is a really interesting take, and it's very, very good. And also Ari Aster's latest movie, Midsommar, is also on Prime at the moment, so that's also worth checking out.
Oh. Yeah, check them out, guys, and if you like them, do feel free to comment below your thoughts. Ring that bell. Subscribe.
Yeah, leave a comment below. What's your favorite horror movie?
Do you ever find you get inspired with the forces that you produce for games by horror movies? Do you ever go, you know what, I want an Indonesian horror Infinity band? Or does Infinity not lend itself in that way?
No, Infinity's not really a horror game in that sense. Like, the closest I've gotten would be like some of my 40K armies, but really most of the inspiration, again, I get from movies or whatever. I'd probably put into something like a role-playing game.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's easier to do the narrative of that. But I've definitely, like, some things I've seen in horror films, I've tried to like give a nod to in some of the stuff I've done, primarily for 40K, I think.
Yeah. I used to have an undead army for Kings of War. So I don't have it anymore. But one of my heroes for that, I had Ash from the Evil Dead as one of the heroes around.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, that's not. I mean, it's not a bad shout.
JB.
Yes.
JB, what makes you build a force for a game? What makes you to go, that's what I'm going to build. That's what I'm going to play with.
It is usually a combination of the models themselves, but more importantly, it's narrative. So
Yeah.
there needs to be some kind of underlying narrative to a force I build. Um,
Yeah.
like a theme that is quite strong through it that I can work towards. Rules don't really matter to me that much. Like if
Yeah.
I'm taken with something, I'll figure out way to make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's predominantly it. Like in Infinity, we've had my Nomad force, which kind of started off as I had models left over from various factions and didn't know what to do with them. And I didn't want to sell them because that was honestly too much of a pain in the ass. So I decided, well, since I can use them for anything, what would I like to do? And
Yeah.
then came up with like an idea for how to tie it all together with a color scheme, and then came up with the idea of like, well, what if it's kind of a mercenary company or whatever? What faction would they be tied to? Probably the Nomads. And that just kind of got the ball rolling, and then the narrative for the Force kind of developed as it went along. So that is more than anything else. It's the idea of trying to tell a story just with your figures
Yeah.
that motivates me and makes me want to make something. Like if there is nothing there, if there is no narrative to begin with, it is very difficult to get me interested.
Yeah, because I tend to find people go, "Oh, you got to forge the narrative." Like whenever I play a game, there's a narrative. Like I'm telling a story of what I like in my head. I'll tell my, "Oh yeah, we're definitely going for there." What happens? Oh, this guy, Sergeant Johnson. What happens to him? Whatever I roll, if you're really good or really bad, then you make the story up.
Yeah.
Go along. It's just So yeah, I agree. For me, the narrative is very important. When I'm playing a game, I want to be telling a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, so you kind of answered this already, but what's your next army project? That's
Yeah, so the next arm.
those Infinity guys.
Yeah, so that's kind of, it's an ongoing project rather than kind of a next project. Uh, is what I'm working on right now is yeah, I have a couple models that have just come in that I'm gonna build and then paint. I'm also updating. I'm going back to the miniatures I painted 2 or 3 years ago when I
Yeah.
first started out this faction, and updating the color schemes
Yeah.
to make them pop a little bit more, and also just to tidy it up to make it fit my modern standards.
Mm-hmm.
Because a project like just because you've finished painting a thing now doesn't mean you can't pick it up later and like
Yeah. You get better at doing stuff like
yeah
color. You practice. You get better at painting it, so you can go back and maybe an extra highlight here or there, or a few techniques if you used a wash
yeah.
to things up. Definitely helps. So, is it another project on the way that you're working on after these guys, or?
Yes, I have a Flesh Eater Quartz army for Age of Sigmar that is partially built that I need to finish building and then painting.
Yeah.
To give that game a go because Age of Sigmar seems like fun. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just seems
Why
like it'd be
not?
something that'd be fun to do. Yeah. So I want to get that done, and after that, I don't really have anything immediately lined up. So what I would like to do after that, or kind of parallel to that, is I'd like to do like fully scratch built force.
Yeah.
With no system in mind immediately. Just
Mm-hmm.
work on a theme, create something like skirmish size, and then figure out what I want to use it for later. But just to have like a creative project where I don't feel there are too many constraints.
Yeah, and I'm always very impressed with the work. Hi, Toby.
Yeah.
I'm always seeing Toby post stuff, and he's always just like knocking together random bits. And I don't love every single one, but quite often I'm like, oh, that's really nice individual pieces created there. And yeah, it'd be nice to have, and then it's your own thing. You've scratch built every single model. There's
Yeah.
another one like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I kind of miss that because while you can do that in Infinity, and I have done it, I know Nomad's being the best example. They're the now infamous Penguin Army. I found that it was easier for me to do that in 40K And while I don't enjoy playing 40k as much
Hmm.
anymore, I do still miss that sense of personality that you could really easily inject into an army. And
Plastic models.
yeah, it's just a lot easier to work with them. But yes, it would be nice to go back to that because many years ago, before Heat was properly founded and became what it is now, I used to live with Toby, and so we used to spend a lot of like long nights sitting around scratch building and kit bashing models. And that is something I miss doing. And so yeah, seeing his stuff inspires me and makes me want to go back and start doing that kind of stuff again.
Yeah, cool. I'm excited to see what you turn out.
We shall see.
Right. So, guys, we're going to take another break right now, and we will come back shortly. We get to the real heart of the questions.